In episode 4, the actual scene takes place in Castle of the Dam. Lord Valdarr searches for hidden book of ancient sorcery spells to raise the commanders loyal to him for raising the dead legion of doom. As he stands at the table against the wall, facing opposite direction of the main altar with the ashes, he looks up as if he senses something, kind of moves his head to the left or right, and then with one punch, fist goes right through a stone wall and pulls out hidden, forbidden ancient book of sorcery spells since before the Valerian Doom. Ah, there it is, my spells of power, now to raise the commanders and servants most trusted and loyal to me. Then I shall have them raise the Legion of the Doom. His first incantation, which is uncertain what it is because it is quiet, calls forth one that is considered to be his most trusted advisor. Oh, glad to see you made it, my most trusted advisor, one who stayed loyal to the end. I am here at your command, my lord. Good. I shall call upon the spells of the commanders. When they rise, bring them here to me, and then we shall raise the Legion of the Doom to be in control of this world, and then to find this dark blue star that I was never allowed to know about since the time before this ancient Valerian Doom. As you wish, my lord. So he goes outside, and then the new spell starts to begin, which then shows purple clouds and thunderings. You're all supposed to report to this castle at the dam, for the Lord is waiting. I don't follow orders of you. Why? You never seem to have a problem with that before. Shall I tell him that you, after so many centuries, decided not to show up at his command? I'm sure you know what he would do for anyone who defies him. He only looks and stares at him. As I said, you are to follow me this way. And so they make their way to the castle of the dam. And just before going inside, we wait here and he will call us by name. That is all I know. Come forth, sorceress Delilah, bloodlust, replacement of Lillith, the untrustworthy prentice, since before the Valerian doom. Take your place. Tempt men this lust, and drain their blood, but let me have their souls to rule. I am here, my dark lord, ready to serve. Tempt men with sexual desires and lust, leaving their wives and queens for me. Then sucking men's blood dry, and their souls you shall have to rule. And I look forward to taking this one on. You need to learn your place while you have great endeavors, for she is a goddess. I only chose her to be my successor because there was no other before the Valerian doom. But do not underestimate her. You are not a goddess. You almost are, but not quite. So be prepared. I will, my lord. Very well then. Come forth, General Bloodshed, Legion of Fire Commander. I have a Legion of Fire for you to command. I answer the call, ready to obey your command, my dark lord. Come forth, General Firestorm, Legion of Brimstone Commander. I have a Legion of Brimstone for you to command. I hear and obey, my dark lord. Come forth, most deceptive fire and brimstone knight, an adviser. Time to spread lies and false promises to those in the present world, and take away all hope for salvation. Give bad advice for our victory, and the known world's doom. I hear and obey. As always, when one gives up their sword, I shall slay them. I will kill pregnant women on your command, and enslave young men and women with false hope, for which they shall be deceived, and be your slaves, to worship you as a god, or die. Come forth, Lady Laynot the Second, Heartbreaker, Assassin's Commander. Time to be sneaky and slay any prince or princess that does not submit to me on bended knee as their king and as their god. Here, my lord, ready to deceive them with false promises of hope and lead them astray. Come forth, Lord Bonebreaker, Axeman Commander. Time to swing your heavy axe, hacking off limbs and their heads shall roll if they refuse to surrender. I hear your voice and come as commanded, ready to taint my axe with all man's blood. Come forth, Lord Brimstone, Swordsman Commander. Lead an army to cut down any who resist me. I am here, my dark lord, and shall not fail you. Come forth, Lord Bone Crusher, Maceman Commander. Time to bash the heads of those who choose free will to stand in defiance of their god. I am here, my lord, ready to turn bones into dust. Come forth, Lord Hades, Brimstone Elite Commander, where special tasks require special skills. here and ready to give my skill for the Dark Lord of this world. Come forth, Lord Leechman Archer Commander. Time to blot out the light and drive fear and darkness into the hearts of men. My bow stands ready, and our arrows shall block the sun. Come forth, Lord Bloodstone Pikeman Commander. Time to strike men down should they flee rather than surrender to me. Ready to throw with power till our spears run men through. Come forth, Lord Slasher Longsword Heavy Infantry Commander. Time to take down these puny Valarians, for they are no mental match or mortal match of those who hone the higher intellect. Here, my Dark Lord, with one blow I shall cut men in half. Come forth, Lord Sulphur, Special Forces Crossbow Commander. Time to enslave dwarfs. Let them clean chamber pots of the enslaved mortals for the rest of their lives. Here, my lord, to make dwarfs work with shit, or be turned into shit. Come forth, Commander Soul Seeker, Commander of Cavalry, to ride down any who worship other religions but me. Here and ready, my Dark Lord. We shall burn all the weirwood, destroy Faith of Seven, rape and kill all Targaryen faith and any other religious sects who do not pay homage to our Dark Lord as their God. Come forth, Lord Grim Reeker, Commander of Heavy Cavalry. Time to run down and kill those who may inspire others to rise against us and enslave the weak. Here, my Dark Lord, I shall mow them down like grass and be a hurricane against the strong. Come forth, Dark Soul Heavy Cavalry Jousters. Time to enter the games and take heads as our trophies. Let me hear their screams. I am ready to cheat, make watchers scream, and bring you their decapitated heads. We are gathered here today in unholy matrimony and unionship, and it was our time to rule, and my time to be a king and a god. When we conquer this world for which we have slept for far too long, when we conquer this world, we shall raise some sunken mental ships and seek out and conquer this dark blue star and feast on human man-flesh. All the commanders start cheering in an uproar, causing an echo to escape the castle of the Dam and to almost be heard as far as the wall of the Night's Watch. Now go, build me an army for each of your commands, and lead an army legion of doom. So with that, he makes a vile, evil laugh as each depart to raise the fallen soldiers they command. It is time to go to war. In the next scene that follows, before this changes over to where Aegon VI Targaryen is on his way to the Narrow Sea to board ships and cross the way to Westeros from Essos, Brothers of the Night's Watch, closest to Eastwatch by the Sea, who have all but completed most of the construction that was destroyed by the Night King from the Great White Walker War, see an unusual, spectacular view. This time the clouds are not purple, but it's like everything grows dark, and there is such thunderings and lightnings, to the point where they start feeling a vibration on the wall, since there is no such thing as an earthquake in Daenerys' world, because it is not Earth, but a planet far, far away in another galaxy, which in time will be revealed. It is an unusual sensation that has not been felt since the time of the Valyrian Doom. And so this will require special effects and the scenes of the thunderings that go on during this musical scene, where they are watching in either scarce fear or horror as to what could be going on beyond the wall. And they even wonder, is the wildlings even safe? So this becomes the next dramatic scene as it concludes the next step of the evil Dark Lord, the Vizier. In this next scene, as it fades in, this takes place outside as Prince Aegon the Sixth Targaryen is traveling with Lillith, the Flame Goddess. Prince Aegon the Sixth Targaryen, Lillith the Sorceress Protector, and best friend Edric Storm and all others in the vast army and company, still marching in formation to the ports of the Narrow Sea for Westeros. So, Lillith, since we're riding together, I was wondering if you have a tale to tell. Me, a tale to tell? Well, you already know, Tywin Lannister tried to have me murdered as a baby. Thanks to Lord Varys, I was swapped out for a commoner's child. So there must be some reason or tale that you have to tell. After all, we're all friends here, looks over at Edric Storm. Even him, he's my best friend. I had to protect him from bullies. Edric Storm starts laughing. Ha ha ha, whatever, Aegon. See what I mean? If it wasn't for me, 'cause we Targaryens are tough, bullies would be picking on him all the time. Well, I have no friends. Well, what about us? I have never had any before, but if you must know, there is a reason that, as I said before, I am much older than you think I am. A tale of where I came from, long before any of you were a squirt, or even thought of, because I come from a time I was banished for making a bad judgment, costing me my brother, and it was since the time before the Valyrian Doom. You sure you want to hear this? Some of it might be hard for you to comprehend, for the civilization I came from was much, much more advanced than what there is in this known world of kingdoms. Things you wouldn't even think about, like ships that fly or float in the air, shall we say fly like dragons, yet sail up to and through the stars. Thinks briefly for a moment. Well, I might have a hard time understanding it, but I am a good listener. Very well. Don't say I didn't warn you. Many people refuse to accept it, and they're set in their own ways. This may or may not make sense to you. So, it goes into a flashback to ancient past of ancient city of Valaria. The flame goddess guardian, Lillith, starts telling her tale. Once, long ago, before the Valyrian Doom, the ancient Valaria Free City was not like anything you could have ever imagined. There was ports, and it was so vast that it was a place where many dragons flew. Ships that sailed by sea would come to do trading, but they had the other ships too, which I will cover in a moment. In one part of Valeria City, it had a usual scene, much like you would see a river flowing. This, of course, the River of Fire, and it didn't pose a threat to anything, as there was no poisonous gas, as long as no one fell in. So there was no dangers. Yet, in it was quite the part of the large city, so they say, to say the very least. Many people thought that it was House Valdarr who was the ruling house of Valaria City. But that is far from the truth. I should know, because as I said, I am much older than you think I am. The House of Targaryens, at that time, was only second to the House of Valdarr. House Valdarr was much like what you would call Hand of the King, but on a much larger scale. The Hand of the King was that of House Valdarr. Then, there was the Valerian City of Tranquility. It was around a large lake, and it was so clear you would have sworn that it was made of glass. The mist or haze would have been considered natural air, not because of smoke or gases, but of natural scents, perhaps flowers, rain, or anything that was considered fresh and good. Then there was this other place built into a cave. It was the location of where the metal ships that flew like dragons were kept. And it was a place where people wanted to learn magic would go, like an academy for mages. It would seem that while being a very highly advanced civilization, much higher than the known world today, magic was a part of the explorations they did. And while we're on the subject about ships made of metal, they were not like the sailing ships you see nowadays. These could float in the air, and they could move through the air with practically no sound to them at all. They were able to travel great distances, be it over land or sea. And they couldn't travel as fast as the others, yet they could travel up high, to the point you could no longer see them. Perhaps they traveled outside our world, to travel among the stars. Though, as I said, you may find this hard to even believe. The smaller metal ships, which could move a bit faster than the large metal ships, were the ones sent by the last Valarian king and queen. They would go into the larger metal ships, up to about 3 to 5 at one time, because they had a great distance to travel on one of their legendary missions. The last king and queen were known as King of Fire and Queen of Ice, and I will explain who they were by name shortly. They came across a civilization far, far away in another galaxy. It was considered to be like a dark blue star, but they were not as civilized as we were then and now. Who knows? And they lacked the high intelligence and intellect the ancient Valarians had, and they were still considered to be still underdeveloped. It was noticed that these people were visited by others based on paintings put on building walls and cave walls, where there were others who had visited them also. The people of the Dark Blue Star decided to honor us with a painting of our visit, though we would not be able to visit them as often as these others who had visited them from other parts of the stars. But they decided to not mention anything of the Dark Blue Star to one known as the Vizier, because he was already showing signs that he was not happy with his station and position. He felt that he should be one that is worshipped like a king, and that people of Valaria should bend the knee to him like a ruler. This caused some concern by the last known king and queen. The concern was because they didn't want the Vizier to use his ultimate magic to pine and rule over the Dark Blue Star. And since magic was starting to get out of hand, with opening doors to other realms of a parallel universe, the last king and queen made it a new law that magic should not be expanded any further. But because the Vizier had a problem with information of the Dark Blue Star being withheld from him, the Vizier decided that they should take over and rule this Dark Blue Star from far, far away. But that is not what this last king and queen wanted, since the people of that star were underdeveloped and became known as humans. So by order of the king and queen, the humans were considered to be protected, and thus the location of where the metal ships went to this Dark Blue Star was kept from the Vizier. This only made the Vizier more angry and wroth for the position he wanted as to be a ruler. In the heart of the Valaria Free City was a crystal palace. The throne room would have put any known throne room today to shame. Some say the crystal throne room had crystal horses on either side of the crystal throne, Others say it was crystal dragons, but who can say? I was not always privy enough to enter the crystal throne room, and never was there an opportunity for me to do so, as I was merely an apprentice myself to the world of magic and spells, but it was quite the splendor. The last known king and queen were Valarians. They were represented by the elements, which was considered commonplace for that time in Valaria Free City. Vaemon Valerian was the last known king. He was considered by most women of that city to be the most beautiful man, by women who served in the kingdom, though he married and could not seem to keep their eyes off him. And there were no jealousies. It caused a due fairness because Shayna Valerian was also very beautiful, though she be married, and thus the men couldn't keep their eyes off her as well. But jealousy was not considered a practice to entertain or be afraid of. It was the belief that, as long as they were true to each other, and as such, they would not have an affair with the commoner, then all is well. Unfortunately, they did not have any male heirs for the last king and queen, but they were blessed with 2 daughters. Ariel Valerian was their heir to the crystal throne of the ancient city of Valeria. The other one, Jaina Valerian, was the younger sister. And just so you know, since the time I was banished, and I will cover that in a moment here, based on my research of all that I missed since being banished, Ariel was sent out by the mother and father, the king and queen, with something I believe was called a Valerian silver steel scroll tube. As to who the visionary was for that time period is uncertain, but it was considered of grave importance that their eldest princess daughter and the scroll leave the city when the Valerian doom was coming upon them. Princess Jaina, on the other hand, though she wanted to stay, she felt that, perhaps, as long as there was a person who survived, since the first Targaryen, whose daughter was a visionary known by the name of Dany the Dreamer, who left the city approximately what would be considered 12 Valerian years ago, before the Valerian doom. Princess Jaina thought that maybe there was a reason the father of Dany the Dreamer had left. So Princess Jaina asked the mother and father, the last king and queen, for permission to leave the city, and if anything should come to pass from the Valerian doom, visioned by Dany the Dreamer, that even if her eldest sister and Crystal Throne heir, Ariel Valerian, was not to survive, that perhaps she could carry their traditions to another part of the world that was yet to be explored. The parents, the king and queen, agreed to this, as long as she took some of their best warriors with her. So she was sent out and never seen again. Now you won't hear, because a lot of the records were lost in the ancient Valarian Free City, which the city had a vast library for cures, medicines, religious affairs, which was more than just the mere exploration of the stars and magic. But a lot of that was lost when the Valerian doom came. The actual rulers were known as the Andromedians. They no longer exist since the Valerian doom. The Andromedians were of such a high intellect that they would make the intelligence of a Valaran and Targaryen appear second-rate. As for mine would not even come close. Yet I came from the lineage like that of my brother, and as there were others, known as the gods and goddesses. Gods and goddesses do not rule in a world of people. We were tasked of giving the knowledge of wisdom and guidance, so that rulers of the Crystal Throne would rule well. but I was still going through my maturity phases even at the age of 300, as I chose the Vizier to be my instructor as the Vizier's heir, as I wanted to know his common advanced magical spells for good, should he reach his elderly maximum age in years of about 800 years. Longevity in the ancient Valaria Free City was also considered to be commonplace. A Targaryen, for example, should he or she live well, could almost live to be 600 years old. It was the same for Valarians. Andromedians is uncertain. Some said they could live to be 800, almost 1,000 years in age. But no one really knew, because those of us who didn't live as long as the Andromedians, to see which one of us would live the longest, it was not something we took as a special study anyways. So they looked much like us, talked like us, but they were quite the unusual people. They did have a serious side, yet only the women seemed to have the better sense of humor. There was one particularly who was the queen before the last king and queen ascended the crystal throne. She was considered to have been advanced herself, since they didn't consider the passing away like that of death. It was considered as having passed to a higher plane spirituality. She had the brightest white hair, almost like that of Mithril, with cream smooth colored skin, and the biggest, darkest blue eyes. Her beauty was so bright that unless someone was worthy enough to be in front of her, anyone would almost go blind because of the beauty she had. The men, on the other hand, didn't wear the white colors. They were considered the warrior class group. While they had the same bright cream-colored skin and bright blonde hair, though not as white as the women, they would wear black and were considered to be the ones who studied the stars. And they often got the special assignments to find out what was beyond our world. At that time, women were the supreme rulers of ancient Valaria Free City. Not like in past recent history, even up to now, where women were considered to be untrustworthy for ruling. That would never have been allowed in the ancient Free City, not while this last Andromedian queen sat the crystal throne. But there came a time when the Andromedians decided to test the Valarians, and they were allowed to intermarry with their children. The Valarians were allowed to have 5 wives, and thus by marriage into the Andromedians, the Valarians had a subclass race known as Valarians, not Valarons. So the Andromedians are a mystery and a legend, as the Andromedians had the longest longevity back at that time. They had planned to be building a new city called Valarian Alpha City. They had a spot picked out, and it had quite the view. Unfortunately, before they could begin constructing, the Valarian Doom came. So it was never developed. Perhaps many, many years from now, if the poisonous gases should ever subside, maybe, one day, someone will be able to build the Valarian Alpha City. And they may even try to reconstruct the old city, though most of it sunk in the waters, as a place for tourism. I doubt the stone people will live forever, even then, though they do live a long time. Their time will eventually come to an end, when the poisonous gases subside, and thus there is nothing more poisonous or infectious, since that is what they thrive on. So in the end, they will end up nothing more than statues, devoid of any life. Even if one fell over and broke, they would be then nothing more than a pile of rocks. Well, they certainly took it upon themselves to leave their former glory. Aegon Targaryen conquered the 7 kingdoms in the name of Valeria. Targaryen were not even the ruling house when the Valarian Doom happened. What set the Targaryens apart is that they had a head start. One of their ancestors predicted the doom of Valaria, and Aenar Targaryen decided to escape the doom by shifting his fiefdom to Dragonstone. When the Valerian doom happened, they also had their last living dragon at their command, Balerion the Black. So, as I continued to catch up on everything that has happened since I was banished, I learned that 2 more dragon eggs were found in Dragonstone. Varaxis and Vhagar, now 2 fully grown dragons, along with Valerian, helped Aegon set up their great empire that the 7 known kingdoms has ever seen. The actual known person to ever start the House of Vallarn was Lord Arthur Vallarn. They may try to make it look like he was in present history, but he wasn't. And you won't find any of this Prince Aegon VI in any annals of the known kingdoms now. Because I am much older than you are, and I have been given a test by the gods of the spirit world, for those who have lived well, and that is for anyone who is Valaran, Targaryen, or anyone for that matter, even at present. The gods of the spirit world pulled me out of the space between the 7 hells and the spirit world. Well, we'll just call it Targaryen heaven for now, for your understanding. So Lord Arthur Vallarn was married to Rhaenys Velaryon. They were considered the founders of House Vallarn in the ancient Free City of Valaria. The next one you won't find in the 7 known kingdoms annals, Prince Aegon VI, is the heir of the founder known as Aegon Targaryen, and his wife and queen was Naehaerys Targaryen. Well, in any case, he was considered to be the very first prince that was promised. However, after Dany the Dreamer and her father had left 12 years before the Valerian Doom, Aegon Targaryen felt there was some sort of spitefulness sparking, either because the Vizier was trying to get people to join his side, though Aegon had no intent in siding with a Vizier who wanted other to bend the knee as though he were a king and worship him as a god, as the Vizier didn't accept his place as servant to the current king and queen of the ancient Valaria Free City. His discrepancy was the fact that why should the Vallarans be considered the noblest to have the Crystal Throne if the Andromedians didn't consider the hard work they were doing? Well, Naehaerys tried to convince her husband, Aegon, that it is because they were charged for conquering the enemy and enslaving them to work the mines for all kinds of minerals, diamonds, emeralds, rubies, mithril, gold, silver, copper, and so on again. Targaryen slavers, being only second-rate, were never to be rulers of any given royal government. So Aegon felt cheated as being the Prince of Promise at that time. But, as I reviewed your history before finding you, Aegon VI, there seems to be others who were told as being the Prince of Promise. I guess for some reason, Lord Stannis Baratheon, whoever this guy was, thought he was, and yet he certainly is no Targaryen. But it's amazing what you people here in these times of the ages to come up with to think that you have the theories and answers to everything. I don't hold that against you because obviously you were barely saved by Lord Varys. At the time, Lord Tywin Lannister wanted to have you killed. Fortunately for you, Lord Varys did do something right.